Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Scottish Independence Podcast. Happy birthday to us, because it's our first birthday, isn't it?
It is unbelievably. We have managed to keep this going for a year.
But yeah, it was a year that we decided to, go all out for hopefully creating a bit of a brand as a podcast. And, we're not quite up there with whoever.
Josh Rogan.
But actually, every week there's a podcast goes out, and every month there's a new video program goes out. Yeah, I'm really pleased about it. The aim has always been that we produce content that will help someone who's just a bit, maybe it's aye, maybe it's no.
But in a non-confrontational way.
So do you want to tell people what's coming up this month?
We'll start with the podcast because that's our bread and butter, and we are Scottish Independence Podcast. Today was the Bits and Pieces podcast for January. It did go out a week late. That was because I had a catastrophic computer failure and had to rebuild my life. But it's jam-packed, that episode. There was so much going on in January. I could have done 6 hours worth. I didn't, but I could have done. And that one's quite nice as well. It's also got our occasional guest presenter, James, was on it as well. It's just a different dynamic when you're chatting about the books rather than...
I like it when it's you and James talking backwards and forwards.
Yeah, I like it. Next Friday, our podcast always go out on a Friday, is an episode of the TNT show. Now, that's one of Independence Live's shows. John Drummond is the host. And this one, his guest is Professor Shona Douglas-Scott. And, John is very, very big on the Constitution. So is she. So that's quite an interesting discussion, particularly when the Constitution is something we're focusing on. A lot of us are focusing on.
Yes.
The 17th, the following week, is going to be an episode of Rising Clyde's show.
I sometimes sort of sit in the background working the controls on for Ian when Ian Bruce is doing that show. And he brought together 3 quite young activists. They're all in areas where what they're coming up against just now is this, crisis in the cost of living. So it's about that. And it was great listening to them all, actually. They're so passionate about what they're doing.
And then the 24th will be the podcast version of our main video program for this month. The working title is but Ferries.
There's a tone of voice goes with it, isn't there? So, but Ferries. And you kind of know that it's going to be said by someone who probably isn't very keen on Scottish government or isn't very keen on Scottish independence
or Scotland.
And I mean, we wanted to do this programme because there are questions that need to be asked about ferry procurement and real difficulties in it, but also ones that, we maybe could have been avoided. So we're talking to some people from Yes Orkney who live up there, and we're talking to Alf Baird, expertise in marine business. I mean, you at one point, I think, put it really well, Fiona. You were sort of saying that, it's difficult to separate the spin that's put onto but ferries, as if Scotland's just rubbish at everything. Well, ferries, but pretty well becomes a cipher for everything. To separate that out and actually look and have a good conversation about how can we get better at ferries. So we've just recorded a bit of it, and hopefully that'll be a good contribution to the discussion.
Yeah, and we were going to incorporate in that free ports, but there's so much material about, so much good stuff around on both topics. We're going to separate that out and do it as a follow-up. Yeah. February will be ferries and March will be free ports.
Yep.
The February bits and pieces we're going to do on the 3rd of March, because February's a short month. We've got a lot of good stuff to get in. And so the video version of our ferry show is going to be out on the 21st of February. It'll premiere at 8 p.m. If you want to join in with the comments, then do so over on Independence Live's channel. If you're following us on our own YouTube channel, it will appear in there as well, because I'll copy it into the playlist for our YouTube shows. Which
great, that's really good. So that's what's coming up in February this month. And if you want to catch up with what we did last, you can get them wherever you listen to your podcast. So whether it's Apple or Google or wherever, or you can go into our website. All the podcasts are also available there, and very helpfully, we have, when we put them up, we put them into different categories. So, for example, Fiona mentioned that the TNT show that's coming out is going to be about the Constitution. There's a Constitution category on the website, so you can really one click and you can see all the different podcasts where we've talked about the Constitution.
Oh, by the way, you might notice a little bit of branding changes on some of our platforms. We got to our first birthday and thought, we need to tidy this up because we use several different versions of our name. So we tried to harmonise it. So we've got Scottish Independence Podcasts is the podcast.
We end up shortening it a bit, don't we?
Yeah.
So we get to indie podcasters. And the podcast's the main part of what we do, but the videos, you know, we're fortunate that Independence Live are happy to host us on their YouTube channel, which, you know, has a lot of followers. So that's really helpful to us. So thanks, Independence Live, for doing that. It's good.
And of course, we do have our own YouTube channel, which we've rebranded that one to make it clearer that it's Scottish Independence Podcasts, but it's the IndiePod Extra, and you can see that above me there. That's maybe little video clips that go along with podcasts or things we've done out and about sometimes, bits of campaigning, what have you.
There is a blog on the website as well. So last month there was a post about a chat that Leslie Riddick did with Karen Oddsdottir from Iceland, which she left us a message to Scotland, which was never give up. And it's another post about just looking at what the polls are saying about support for independence. One was called Video Clips of the Week, and that was, I put that one together. It was fun doing it. Some of the clips from bits and pieces, wasn't it? I'll just say again, you know, Scottish Independence podcasts are not party political. It was a little suggestion that came out with well, you know, there's this coronation that's happening in May, and they're going to be taking the Stone of Destiny down for the coronation. Why don't we just refuse? And it was just tongue in cheek, but it was, well, we could delay it a bit, just give them a wee bit of a fright, and maybe you know the coronation couldn't go ahead because he wouldn't have anything to sit on. Honestly, I just was killing myself.
Thank you to everybody who has subscribed to our YouTube channel, because we've got enough subscribers now. We've been able to start a community tab. We can put links into our blogs in there, which is what we intend to do. We can also do polls, which we've not tried yet. That might be fun to do. So anyway, that's February. We're a year old. You can catch us on Twitter still, even though it's a bit weird these days. We're on mastodon.scot, and we're definitely thinking of putting a Facebook page up, even though we have resisted it for a year.
Yeah, and we're on TikTok. Yeah, those of you who've made it through to the end of this little video, well done. Thanks again.
Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later. Bye.
Yep.